Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy is dead.
And today we're going to re-envision the Chimera.
Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
And you're going to find something else on your way down there. In the description, you're going to find a link to the article we're talking about right now.
All right, so one of our authors did an awesome setup linked with Chartopia to make randomized chimeras.
Nice. And what was the name of that article?
So the name of that article is the D&D Chimera Randomized.
All right. Well, it's actually a series. I believe it's the second one in the series. First one he did Beholders, randomizing the eye stalks and the powers and stuff like that. So I'm hoping he does more of them because these are pretty cool.
These are absolutely awesome. I love the Chimera at its concept. Monsters being mashed together. It's a lot of fun. Older editions, there was the Mad Wizard did it. But, they've actually gone and done a lot of lore changing to make it more than that. But to have, well, we can just smush a whole bunch of different things together and see what we come up with. And it pulls all the stats and makes the things, for you. And it's pretty darn cool.
All right, so you've been playing around with it, and you guys can check it out on nerdarchy.com. If there's a link, like I said, and you can play along at home if you like and see what you come up with.
All right, now, first and foremost, there is a whole formula for what you get, as well as if you actually explore around, you can find out that it's not just every creature and in any different location. There's a set, well, this can only be here and this can only be there because... I got notes here because I can't remember all this. The left head also mimics what the tail is. So if you've got a dragon head over the
hindquarters.
Side, no, just the tail.
Oh, just the tail. Okay.
The right head is the hind legs, and then the central head is the chest and front legs. So when you say, well, I have a snake, bat, boar combination, the snake is your left head with the tail. The middle head is the bat, so you're going to have it more like a wyvern quality to it, so it'll have the wings and no front legs. And then the boar, it's going to have on the right side over here, and then the hind legs being, hooved and what have you.
All right, and so that was one of the combinations you got.
That is the first thing that I rolled up today when I decided to play around with this. But there's so many different options. As I said, you can go in and specifically choose the things that you want. But I played random to see what things you could hit when you just say, roll that chimera.
The primary, for the first one you came up with, the primary head and body is the bat, right? So it doesn't have four legs. It just has the bat head. It's got bat wings. And to the left side, we have
the boar.
So, okay, so that's...
Sorry, snake is left. Boar is right.
Okay. Snake is left. So it has a snake's tail. And the hindquarters is going to be that of a boar.
Yes.
That's kind of weird because as a boar, it kind of has to sit up on its hind legs in order to... Because it's got wings, right? Unless it's walking on its wings. Maybe it does, like dragging the rear behind, because otherwise it kind of has to do these little like chicken hops, and it's got the tail to help kind of bounce it out a little bit from the snake. And so it just says snake though. Does it say any kind of particular, like, does that give it a poison trait or?
I didn't look at the stats. I was just looking at the name, so I would imagine that this thing's supposed to be the more powerful head. Because that's where the dragon and the ankeg and that kind of stuff can come from. So... Like, yeah, I think that one...
It has venom, for sure.
It's got to have venom.
Yeah, maybe, maybe that head is like a giant cobra head, and it can puff out the hood when it gets annoyed. And let's face it, chimeras are pretty much always annoyed because they generally have a bad disposition. And in this case, we have a boar, which boars can be downright nasty. They don't say pig-headed for nothing, so we kind of get like that stubborn streak. And then we have the serpent, which is going to be... They kind of get associated with, being sinister or sly or sneaky,
venomous, hissing.
Yeah, and then we have the bat, which is like a creature of the night. So that's the other thing. Like, this is probably a nocturnal creature, right? It probably comes out at night. It almost makes you think of the Jersey Devil a little bit for some reason. Like these things mashed together. But so what are we gonna get? We're gonna get boar ferocity. So like it's not gonna go down easy. A charge attack,
I would imagine,
from the boar as well. You're going to have the venom from the snake. I don't see constricting unless it does it with its tail, and that's going more with the constrictor. So, like, that could be another way to go if you decided, no, it doesn't have poison, it just bites you and then wraps you up with its tail, which would be nasty enough. It's going to be a little bit weaker than maybe some of the other chimeras in the sense that it's not going to have forelimbs to attack with because it has wings. But that's okay because it's going to fly. And that charge ability that a boar gets, so instead maybe it's like a dive or a swoop. You kind of like combine the two together. And again, it's going to have blind sense.
Right. So I think this is weaker than your typical, chimera, but you could have a lot of fun with it. And there's nothing to say that you couldn't tweak that. Okay, well, what if you made it a vampiric bat? And really sold up the sinister angle. Maybe unlike other chimeras that you see the distinction in the body parts. Well, what if the fur from the boar wound up being black and the wings are black? What if the snake was then black as well? And this really was a silent, stealthy predator that it just snuck up on you and does that that one hit kill for just being in its terrain.
Or probably dive bombs you from above. Ventures always forget to look up. You never see it coming. So yeah, that's definitely one way to go with it.
You've got the flying charge attack linked up with, 2 bites, one of which is vampiric, the other one's poison. And that could be pretty brutal.
Well, you're going to get the gore as well from...
That's what I'm saying. The gore was the charge attack, and then 2 bites to go along with it.
Yeah, but what if you just say all of the attacks get the benefit of the charge?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because to me that kind of makes sense the way it would strike.
It could, if the target's small enough, if this were, even though the animals might be smaller, if you made this thing large, it could swoop in, come at you with all 3 heads, and just keep flying away with you.
That's a possibility as well. So what's our next one?
All right, so our next one is a little weird. I definitely see the snake bat boar thing working out pretty well, but we have on the left a frog, in the middle a saber-toothed tiger, and on the right a Pegasus.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've got the front hindquarters and central head of a saber-toothed tiger. You have got the rear legs, and we would say, you'd keep the wings because it's the only thing that can fly from the Pegasus. But then you've got, on the left, you've got a frog, frog's head, no tail.
Right, that's going to get rid of the tail. So it's going to look weird. If you see it a certain way, you're like, oh, look at this majestic creature. And then it turns towards you like, oh my God. All right, frog head, saber-toothed tiger, Pegasus. But you know what this means, right? So it could possibly have a rear kick attack is potential. It's going to have the flight. It's a frog. It's got a tongue attack. So that part I find kind of amusing. Beware small creatures.
First time I was playing with one of Teddy's friends, he played a gnome, and I had a whole bullywug frog encounter, linked up. I wanted to do something in the swamp, and I kept swallowing his gnome. It's like, well, you put yourself close to a frog, you're meal sized to it. So
yeah, I mean, you're going to have a tongue attack. You're going to have a swallow attack. Saber-tooth tiger is going to be like a pounce. Anyway, I'm not sure what to do. Well, you're going to get your claw attacks. I'm not really sure what to do with the Pegasus head. You know what? I would just look at Nightmare and some other like nasty equine creatures and give it some kind of bite attack off of it. It's just going to be weak.
Right.
Yeah, for what it is. This is like the creature that maybe some prankster put together. Like a prankster god thought it would be funny to rearrange these. Is kind of what I'm thinking. We'll have to go back to the first one too and kind of like story that out a little bit. So what is the next one you made?
All right. So the next one is crazy looking, but deadly to adventurers, because the first thing that's got on this one, the left head, is that of a rust monster.
Oh my God. So uncalled for, Ted.
Then we have in the middle is a badger.
Okay.
So it's utterly crazy to have a rust monster and then a badger. And then our final head is that of a wolf spider. When I looked at other things on the website and they brought up spider, because they have 8 legs, when you add wolf spider into a chimeric creature,
you get 4.
You get 4 instead of the 2. So this thing is going to be 6 legs, 4 spider legs out on the back, the 2 badger legs up front. I think it would be more back heavy. With the rust monsters really don't have tails.
They do have a tail. It looks like a bone. Like it looks like almost like a femur.
Okay.
That comes off either side.
All right, so that's going to come off of the big bulbous spider, body or abdomen. You're going to have that thin front from a badger, but it's going to have its claws. It's going to have its bite. The spider's going to have, a bite attack as well. A rust monster's going to be able to, get rid of weapons and armor.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty annoying. It's going to get web walking. It's going to get web sense. It's going to have a climb speed. It's going to have a burrow speed. So, like, this thing could burst from the ground and attack.
So, like, part of me would want to take this creature and, fully arachnid it up and give it 4 of the badger legs just to make it proper. And then that would, maybe bulk it out a little bit so that it could actually dig and be able to get all its heads in to the ground.
Spiders have been known to be diggers, and there's a trapdoor spider.
That's true.
So I think that works. You're going to get, some web casting from the spider possibly. So, yeah, this is going to be fun and freaky, and this is going to be another ambush predator. But this one could drop from above or come from beneath, depending on what was more advantageous to it at the time. And the fact that it would also be a really good hit and run monster, where it kind of like comes in, hits you, rusts your stuff up, and then leaves, and then keeps coming back till it's depleted your armor and your weapons, and then it just comes in for the kill.
Yeah, like each head could have its own line of tactics. And I see like this is the kind of thing that you could set up a lair and have multiple of these creatures all hidden. So like one comes in and hits, flees in a direction. They go after it. They get hit from the other side, losing more gear, losing more armor until they either, flee or their metal's been gone.
Well, I almost wish there was a pack animal in there because, none of those are pack animals. All of them are kind of solitary. But that would be really annoying.
Well, I mean, if we changed badger to wolf, that could definitely work. But then we'd lose the whole, digging.
You would not be digging. Yeah, you'd have to come up with something else. And I don't think, well, there probably are burrowing animals that kind of work together. What are those little mole rats?
I don't think mole rat's going to be quite the terrifying thing.
Yeah, and what is the last one you got?
All right, so our last one is our powerhouse. So leading off, left head and tail, we have that of a bee here. We're bringing the lightning. Then we have in the center, we have a belay. And then we finish it off with our right head and hind legs of a mammoth. So our creature is now huge.
And it burrows.
And it burrows. And it
breathes lightning.
It breathes lightning. And it's got a trample attack.
That is pretty and a leap. It gets the leap attack for being a belay, which that jump attack is no joke.
This thing, it's going to be hard to not feel it moving beneath you.
Tremor sense. It's going to have tremor sense.
It's going to have tremor sense.
I think Behira gives you a blind sense. Mammoth, you're just bringing size.
Yes.
And you're going to get that trunk attack. You're going to get the gore attack. You get the trample. They might have a charge in there too, or it might just be the part of the trample. But yeah, when you add up all the stuff that this guy's going to have, that is a big buttload of wicket. So the question is, how do we put some of these monsters together? How do we story these monsters? This is always the tricky part. And without going, the crazy wizard did it, like coming up with an idea. Like the one with the frog, I almost like envision that being like a jester or joke god or prankster god put that thing together.
You could take that in a way that it really is cast off, and maybe it knows like some of what its being is, and going with the whole chimeric thought, these things are supposed to be, evil and vindictive and what have you. So maybe it's like, well, I'm suffering because I'm this hideous creature, so therefore I will visit my suffering upon all who come into my area.
I kind of like the idea of dissecting each one of the creatures a little bit and think about, well, what is the personality for that creature and how would that affect the overall demeanor of the animal itself, the monster itself.
All right, well, so let's look at frog. Frogs are, generally considered, glum. They're not, the happy-go-lucky animals that other things get.
Well, you have the saber-toothed tiger, which is a predator, and you have the Pegasus, which is a mystical creature and is, kind of, nice. I mean, rainbows and sunshines, right?
Right.
And then you have the frog. Now, I don't know that frogs are glum, but they are from swamps reminds me, then wouldn't this thing have a swim speed if it's a frog as well?
I don't know if it gets the gets that because it doesn't have any of its legs.
Yeah, I guess not. That is funny, though. It made me think about it as like mix-matching like all the abilities. That one is kind of weird and funny to me. Like I feel like it's a cosmic joke. The snake, bat, and boar seems like a much more sinister creature.
I think like that could have been, specifically crafted by a being of the night, whether it be a vampire lord, whether it be a demigod or god that is about stalking and hunting and really getting into that hunter mentality that actually has an evil bent to it. You could definitely go from that angle.
Yeah, like the bat is going to bring on like the concept of a creature of the night. Although bats aren't really like that, but it doesn't matter.
That's what
superstitions.
That's the superstition.
Yeah.
That's what it's in a fantasy
speaking
game.
to. Yeah, and the snake is going to be venomous and sly and devious, and boars, just tend to be ill-tempered and stubborn. So you kind of get some. I feel like this one is like the closest to the actual chimera from the monster manual with its personality.
Right.
But it definitely kind of speaks to some dark powers kind of match this thing together. The rust monster wolf spider is another great one for ambushes. Now we actually kind of have like a mechanic in our campaign setting that makes stuff like this a lot easier without saying the crazy wizard did it. So we kind of like have our own cop-out that's built into the world.
It's a chaos storm, yeah. And it makes one and has the ability to make others, but you don't always want to go down that road. You can use places of power and, times where, if the energies are in the right place, random things have the ability to happen. So you don't always have to go with a person is responsible. It could be a magical event happened or what have you. That can create these weird monstrosities. Or, you could actually have a being of great power that's not just a crazy wizard, but someone who is like, the deity of chaos in your world. Perhaps someone has twisted his idea for what is beauty and what is normal. And these are like their chosen creatures. I want something that isn't just a normal, perhaps symmetrical humanoids are boring to this god. Perhaps he doesn't want something like that. So to make a creature that from every angle, it's different. It's front and back, vastly different. It's, left and right, vastly different. Perhaps to him, her, that is what is beauty. To him, that's, what he's looking for.
I kind of like the idea of magical mishaps too. Like I could see like, maybe you have a shapeshifter and there's a magical mishap where the last several creatures they turned into, this mishap like morphs them into a combination of those creatures. It was like one idea. I like the idea you're saying like, well, maybe, a deity has created this thing in an image that is appeasing to him, perhaps, or her, as the case may be. Perhaps this deity has several children, 3 to be exact, and they each have a particular creature that is their representation or their heraldry or, their holy animal or holy beast or monster, as the case may be. And this deity decides to put them all together and make it, as the family beast, if you will.
Right.
You could do something along those lines. Like we said, in our own campaigns, we have chaos storms, so this phenomena can happen, pretty much anytime one of those happens. With such a drastic mishmash, and because it's based off the classic Chimera, it does make it trickier, but at the same time, you could always just replace the chimeras in your world with one you've made up. The lion, dragon, goat-headed chimera, maybe that never happened. And you can just associate that story with the new version. I believe also like they did one in previous editions of the game where they replaced the goat head with a gorgon head, making it quite nastier. The headbutt was bad and all, but when you're breathing gas that petrifies people, a bit worse.
I don't like, if you go with the more mythological version of Chimera, its tail was that of a snake. So it actually had another head back there. You can go in a lot of different directions with the term Chimera.
Yeah, I also like the idea of like, if you want to do a little more science fiction, fiction-y, science fantasy, and you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe some kind of cloning technology goes wrong. Right, and this science vessel crashes in your world, and before it did that, it analyzed several species, which was kind of like part of the parameters, part of the mission. But now it's like mixing them together and spitting out these monsters. Now it could be like random ones, different ones, because it's got a bunch of different species, or it could just have like one blueprint now that it accidentally made, and it keeps spitting these out. So now you actually do have a new race.
That's pretty horrific thought, to have a machine that's whether it be magical or technological, actually spitting out these insane creatures like the Behir Bulle mammoth.
So the question is, guys, have you checked out the article over on nerdarchy.com? If not, why haven't you? The link is in the description. And while you're on your way down there, don't forget to leave a comment about what kind of chimeras you want to make in your world or what you rolled up. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.